This is Talking Football with two ball guys. I'm Adam.
I'm Tony.
Tony, that is Run This Town with little Jay-Z and Rihanna.
All right.
The reason I play that is because there was a team that ran a town on Saturday.
Who are you talking about?
Vanderbilt and Nashville.
Right.
They picked up one of the biggest upsets
Maybe in recent memory.
in
For
one of the
sure.
biggest in SEC histories.
For
And
sure.
then they took the goalpost down and they walked it through town for 3 miles and threw it in the river.
Unbelievable. Did you know that like 2 weeks prior to that game, Nick Saban said, and you love Nick Saban, great coach, but he's like, every SEC is a tough road game to go play, except Vanderbilt. Haha, and everybody laughed. So at the end of the Vanderbilt game, they played that on the big screen after they beat Vanderbilt, where Nick Saban said, going on the road in the SEC is really hard, except Vanderbilt. Love it.
Except Vanderbilt. All right, we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. This is Talking Football, two bald guys, part of Elevation 5280 Sports. That's E5280sports.com out of Denver. And we're also sponsored with Happy Nuts. We talked about this a bunch, but we're going to keep talking about it. They've been a great partner with us. Happy Nuts, I'm looking at their comfort powder right now. And again, we talk about just the tips. Apply as needed to your body, feet, pits, and happy zone, and enjoy your Happy Nuts.
Absolutely.
That's the tips just for a second.
Yeah, get yourself some Happy Nuts. Plenty of products out there, sprays and creams and powders and razors, everything you have. There's happy curves out there for the ladies as well. Take care of your business down there.
Yeah, and they also donate a portion of their proceeds to prostate cancer prevention and research. You always got to love a company that does that.
Right. They have some social responsibility out there.
Yep.
They give back to a good cause. So Happy Nuts, use our code 2ballguys20, get 20% off. Find that link anywhere you listen to our podcast and on the Instagram.
Yep.
2ballguys.
I'm going to say this. Make your nuts happy. Get some Happy Nuts.
Get it, yes.
All right. We just talked about the Vanderbilt-Alabama game. I want to get into this to a little bit more. When we talked about this last week, I talked about Vanderbilt. I thought could keep it close.
I think, what'd you say? Maybe a half?
A half. I said, don't be surprised because Vanderbilt's better. They took Missouri to overtime. They beat Virginia Tech, which I know Virginia Tech's not at a Bama level. They had been playing well, but they had lost 2 games again to Missouri, and I forget who the other one was. So they were 2-2 coming in, but it wasn't Vanderbilt. But then again, if you looked at the crowd, I don't know if you started watching the game a little bit, did you?
For sure, when it got interesting.
There was 75% of Bama fans there.
Yeah, there was more Bama fans than
Vanderbilt. Like I think the whole stadium stormed the field. No, I mean the whole Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that many people.
No, the stands were not packed.
So we I text you a little bit. We text every once in a while stuff like that's going on, and I was like, Bama, and you're like, they're in trouble. It was 23-7 at halftime, I think, maybe 14, I can't remember. And I kind of still thought Bama was going to come in the second half, and they were just going to wake up. They did it against South Florida earlier this year, where there was 14-13. They scored like 21 or 28 points in the fourth quarter. You just kind of seem like, because if you look at the betting, the Vanderbilt was still like a plus 300 to win the game at halftime.
Right, because Bama was just going to finally figure it out, get back on it. We talked about having that after a huge, crazy win against Georgia. You kind of have that next week where you lay an egg, you're down a little, you just can't get up for Vandy, which, okay, it makes sense a little bit. And they did. They laid the egg. They couldn't come back. They made mistakes. Like, they look like a human football team.
Like we had talked about this too, 18 to 22-year-olds, it's tough to tell their psyche. And I think this is one of those we found it. Yes. It's like it was amazing to me that they just couldn't stop Vanderbilt. They couldn't stop them. When they needed to stop them, they couldn't. And then Vanderbilt made the plays. They had that late sack on Milroe where he fumbled it. And they just turned it into points. And
the Vanderbilt offense, if you watched it, that quarterback's pretty solid, Pavia or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. And then they just ran simple little, roll him out to the side, toward the sideline, and throw a little crossing pass coming across, and like nothing big, but they would turn into big yards. Bama missed a bunch of tackles, but the Vanderbilt defense impressed me probably a little bit more. They kind of won that line of scrimmage against Bama.
I mean, they gave up 28 points, which sounds like a lot, but to Bama, as Vanderbilt, that's like shutting them out almost.
Correct.
And they scored 40.
Right.
And I mean, they realized they couldn't just drop back their quarterback and just sit in the pocket. So they had it out. They ran zone reads, all this stuff. They got him running. I thought he ran for more yards. He was like at 50-some yards. But it seemed like every time they needed a big run, they rolled him out, and he made the right decision. And the guys caught the ball. And you're right. They would catch the ball, and then they would get first downs. And they would just continually to get first downs. And they kept the ball away from Bama. And they kept Bama from making those big strikes. Like at the end of the Bama-Georgia game, Bama. I mean, Bama did have that one play to seven. What's his name? Williams.
Ryan Williams. Real good.
He's good.
Oh, he's
He caught the ball. I don't know how he kept himself in balance, and then the guy bumped him, and it looked like he got shot out of a cannon. He was top speed
Gone.
as soon as he hit the ground and was gone. It was like that kid is special.
He's
But
ridiculous.
Vanderbilt did a good job of shutting him down for the most part.
Yeah, I think that the thing that surprised me the most was the offensive defensive line. Like Vanderbilt's defense and offensive line kept Bama in check and even maybe beat him a little bit once in a while.
Yeah,
Like
it's.
did you see Lane Kiffin's interview?
No, I
after the Ole
didn't.
Miss
I
game?
didn't.
It was right before the Bama game was over. It's almost over. And Lane Kiffin ignored the reporter, was looking at a TV somewhere, and they kept trying to talk to Lane. And Lane's like, listen, this is something that doesn't happen. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Bama's going to lose to Vanderbilt. And he watched the television prompter and ignored the reporters.
But, you watch that, and then it was just a crazy day. 5 out of the top 11 teams lost, and Miami should have lost again. That would have been 6 of the top 11 teams losing in a week. But it's like Michigan lost to an unranked team, and I'll admit it, Washington was better than I thought they were. Like, they were better. Will Rogers, pretty good quarterback. And then they brought in this little like zone read guy, and he could throw the ball too. And they ran a couple plays like that. And Michigan then finally went to Jack Tuttle, who's came from IU and a bunch of other plays, like backed up Penix at IU.
Oh, interesting.
And then, but he'd been hurt at the beginning of the year, and it gave him some life. But the thing is, they didn't have life for 4 possessions, and they were down 17-0. Yeah. Tuttle comes in, and all of a sudden they start scoring. If Tuttle plays the whole game, it might be different. But then he did make 2 big turnovers at the end of the game. But they lose to Washington. Washington was unranked, but it was at Washington, and I don't think we're going to put like normally Vanderbilt on the same level as Washington. So they lose.
Correct.
Arkansas beats Tennessee. Arkansas has not been a great team.
Tennessee couldn't do anything.
Beat Tennessee. Texas A&M, who was ranked, we weren't sure about, lays the wood to Missouri.
Beat them down.
I mean, USC loses to Minnesota at Minnesota.
That was right up
it's
there
just
with
like you look at all those scores and you're like, what happened? And to me, I looked around and I'm like, we talked about this the other day. It Bama and Texas and everybody else, and we kind of said, yeah, maybe. And now it's like, I don't know.
I don't know who it is anymore because it's so spread out. It doesn't matter. Then this is, I think you like this. Anybody can win on a given week, and that week just proved it right there. When Vandy can take Alabama and beat them at home, not Bama's home, but Vandy's at home, and Michigan loses to Washington, and Georgia and Auburn played kind of a close game. Like there's just, and Indiana's dominating people, and Tennessee loses, and Texas A&M beats on Missouri. Like you just don't know what's going to happen anymore. You really don't.
You look at it. Ohio State ended up beating Iowa 35-7. And another note, they were only up 7-0 at halftime.
So that was close.
That was close. Georgia won 31-13, but that was close early. SMU beat Louisville, who was ranked. Syracuse beat UNLV, who was ranked. It was a crazy day. And in the Miami, I know I said they should have lost. They should have. They were down 35-10.
Was it that bad?
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
It was like a 10:00 game.
It was 10:30. It was past your bedtime.
Yeah.
They were down 35-10 with 8:06 left. They scored with 3:02 in the third quarter. They scored with 3:02 left in the third quarter to make it 35-18. But even then, Cal kicked a field goal early in the fourth to go up by 20. They were down 20 with 14 minutes left, and then came back and won, scored 3 touchdowns to end that game to get the win. And that's the second Houdini act that Miami has faced. So, it's chaos in college football, and it's crazy because now there's this 12-team playoff when like last year I think we had a more narrowed down on a group of 6 teams that were pretty good. And now it's like
there could be 15, 18, 20 teams out there right now that could compete. I mean, this 12-team playoff is going to get interesting because you still got, Georgia's still a good team. We know that. Texas is still good. They got my Sooners this week coming up. That's going to be a good one for everybody. See where Oklahoma's at, see where Texas is at. Missouri, are they legit now or not?
Yeah.
Tennessee, are you who we thought you were?
All right, let's do it. I'm going to break it in. We're going to do a little true and false like we've been doing the last couple days or last couple weeks. All right, true or false? The Big Ten is the better conference or the best conference in the country now.
That's tough. I need more sample sizes. I'm going to say false right now.
Okay.
I'm still going to stick with the SEC because I still think Texas big win over Michigan, I think still kind of shows where they're at, but Ohio State's really good. Oregon, okay, maybe up there. We'll see about them this week.
In the top 8 spots, you have 3 Big Ten teams, 4 SEC teams, in Miami, the ACC.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
But the 3 Big Ten teams are 2, 3, 4, and they're all undefeated. That's Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State. Now, Ohio State plays Oregon this week. Penn State hasn't looked great doing it, but they're winning. Texas obviously is undefeated. Georgia showed some flaws. Bama showed some flaws. Tennessee showed some flaws, and so has Ole Miss. So I think the top teams might be better in the Big Ten, but I think overall in the conference, the SEC is still probably a little bit better.
Yeah, it's a tough one because Penn State, nobody's talking about Penn State, right? But they just go along their business. They're winning games. They seem to be playing pretty good football. I haven't really been watching them a whole lot. Is Oregon for real? We're going to find out soon enough, right? Texas has a tough one finally against Oklahoma, which that's a rivalry you never know. But again, is Clemson any good? You know, I mean, they might be okay, but then Georgia beats them up. So Miami's struggling. Tennessee, Bama, and Ole Miss all have a loss. I don't know. What is there? 4 undefeated teams, and
there's 4 at the top, but then
Big Ten?
Miami's undefeated. Iowa State's undefeated. They're at number 11. They're tied. BYU's undefeated. Indiana's undefeated. Pitt is undefeated.
I forgot about Indiana.
Indiana's jumped at number 18. They are actually tied in the AP rank. Or wait, this is AP rankings with Oklahoma and Kansas State.
Interesting.
All right, true or false? Indiana is better than Oklahoma.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to play Indiana right now because they can score some points and my Sooners can't. I'm going to say that is true right now because if they played right now, I think it'd be a good game, but I think that Indiana offense is legit.
So Indiana's coach, he came over from James Madison. I saw a clip of him the other day. He goes, I win.
That's what he said.
He goes, I win.
Wow.
He goes, if you're not sure, go look at my record. I win. And that's what we're going to do here.
Wow.
That's some big words coming in IU. But he's doing it. But again, they haven't played anybody great. IU. You know what? But here's the thing. I think IU, I would be like, they play Michigan in a little bit. If Michigan was playing them this week, I would be a little afraid. IU plays.
Do they play Nebraska?
They do play Nebraska. They're off this week. They play Nebraska and Washington at home. Then they have Michigan State on the road. Then they play Michigan and Ohio State back to back. So I mean, you're going to figure out soon if they're good. But
the Nebraska game will be a good test.
They could beat Nebraska.
Yeah,
please, they do have Washington at home. They'll be interesting because, like I told you, I didn't realize Washington had some of the receivers they had. It was better than I thought. Now,
just look at who they lost last year.
Michigan still, I think, should have won that game.
Yeah.
But Washington was. I didn't think Washington was good as they were, and they were better than I thought.
That's one conference loss.
But yeah,
they're still in good shape.
And then Michigan State, I think. Their favorite going to that. They could be a favorite at home against Michigan, and then they go to Ohio State. We'll see, because Ohio State has Oregon this week.
The Nebraska game will tell us a little bit more because Nebraska's a little bit better, I think, than some of the teams that they've played. Even though Nebraska barely beat Rutgers 14-7, that was just kind of a boring game to watch. But Indiana, go take out Nebraska. Be undefeated going into Michigan.
All right,
that could be fun.
True or false? Oregon is the favorite against Ohio State. Should be the favorite against Ohio State this week. They play at Oregon.
No, false.
You think Ohio State should be the favorite?
They should be the favorite. I know it's in Eugene, and that changes things a little bit. I know game day is going there instead of going to Dallas for the Red River rivalry.
They should be going to Oregon for the Ohio State Oregon game.
So, right. But I still think as much as you hate Ohio State is until it's proven otherwise.
The last time they played each other was in Columbus, and Oregon beat them.
Right. Was that Bo Nix led Oregon?
It's definitely the best offense Ohio State has played so far.
For sure.
The defense we'll see because they played Iowa's defense, but Iowa's defense is so bad against good teams. Well, sometimes they're bad against bad teams. They just can't keep up. We've talked about this many times about the defense.
It just takes too much.
It's just too much. They held them tight for one quarter. Half, but then after that it breaks down.
Well, yeah, because you can't expect that defense to just carry you for 4 quarters. The offense has to do something once in a while.
So I asked this last week. I'm going to ask it again, just because I think he did it again. And let me look it up. I want to get to his stats before I say this true or false. But true or false?
Geez, I think I know you're going with. I was looking at some of his stuff too.
Ginty.
Oh my gosh.
The running back for Ashton Ginty. The running back for Boise State. Is he the Heisman favorite? Should he? Okay, I'm going to rephrase this. Should he be the Heisman favorite?
So I think last week we talked about, and I thought Jalen Milroe should be up there.
Yep.
but that's changed.
Yep.
Because of
Yep.
the Vandy game.
Yep.
So yes, it is true. He is the favorite because he keeps doing it. Did you watch any of his highlights or anything?
I
like
didn't.
That? You cannot tackle that guy. He bounces off people like they're not, like they're just rubber balls. Bang,
we
bang, bang.
talked about this. He was over 10 yards per carry for the season with 80 rushes. He is now at 95 rushes, and he's still averaging 10.9 yards a game.
So he's almost. Is he at 1,000 yards?
He's at 1,031 in 5 games.
Wow.
5 games.
He's gonna rush for 2,000 yards. I don't know if anybody's done that since what? Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders. I don't know. We'd have to look it up. He went for 186 on 13 carries, 14.3 yards, and his long was 75. So again, we've talked about this.
I don't care who you're playing.
We've talked about this before. He breaks a long run every game. Yeah. His shortest long run of the season in a game is 64 yards against Washington State.
That's his shortest
long run of a game.
Right. That's insane.
Because it always tells you the long runs. Last game he broke a 75. 3 different games he's been over 70.
Yeah.
That's like you don't break those every game.
I don't care.
I don't care who you're playing.
Maybe once in a while you get one. But every game he's getting 65 plus.
If they were playing an FCS school every day, then maybe. But still.
Averaging over 10 yards a carry. That's
because you have to find a hole.
You got to make people miss tackles.
You have to miss tackles, or you just get lucky that somebody over pursues and you'll get touched.
Right. No,
but even against the worst teams, they don't give you that big of holes all the time.
Played against Oregon, didn't they?
He had a good game against Oregon. He went for 192.
Correct.
He did only average 7.7 yards a carry against Oregon.
Only.
But he broke a 70-yarder.
Right. And that's against an Oregon team who's what, third, fourth, right?
They're third in the country.
Right. So don't get that. Yes, he's the Heisman favorite. 100% right now. Nobody's even close. Maybe we thought the Tennessee quarterback. Maybe we thought Jalen Milroe. No, they're not in there anymore.
I mean, the only one you could say, and it's only because he plays 2 ways, is Travis Hunter. Maybe,
but Colorado's not very good, and he's not going to no. Maybe.
I mean, here's the quarterbacks. Quinn Ewers.
Yeah,
but he's been hurt. Will Howard for Ohio State. No. Dylan Gabriel. Maybe. Drew Aller for Penn State. Beck for Georgia.
No, not after that.
Here's the quarterback that maybe is Cam Ward from Miami.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I'll put him in the list.
But then Jalen Milroe just lost to Vandy. That's going to knock him down. And then Tennessee just lost there. Even Jackson Dart, they lost. I mean, you don't have it. And I don't think there's anybody that really just jumps out at you at Iowa State. They're undefeated.
No, who do they have?
So I mean, you run into that. You're running into teams that like. If Boise State keeps winning, they do have a loss, but it was to Oregon. But if they keep winning and they get themselves into playoffs, he has to be. He has to be. If he's not at least invited to New York, something's wrong.
Correct, because he's going to rush for almost 2,000 yards probably.
Yes, he should. Let's see who they play the rest of the year. He should.
If they make the playoffs,
I don't care.
If they make the playoffs, he's in there.
I mean, they get Hawaii, UNLV, San Diego State, Nevada, San Jose State, Wyoming, Oregon State. I know it's not Murder's Row. I understand that. But if you go for 2,000 yards,
averaging 10 yards
a carry, which looking at that, he could, unless he gets hurt. Knock on wood. I hope he doesn't. We don't ever want anybody to get hurt.
He doesn't have that. He doesn't have a crazy amount of rushes.
No, last game he had 15.
Right. That's the thing. That's going to keep
his high game. I think was against Oregon with 25.
That's going to keep him healthy. He's not rushing 25, 30 times every single game.
And he has a bye after the Hawaii game.
Okay, so he's got 2 more games and a bye, or 1 more game and a bye.
Yeah, and then he plays the rest of the year. Yeah.
He's only getting 15 rushes. That's nothing.
And after he rushed for 25 times against Oregon, they had a bye, so he had 2 weeks off after that one too.
He's gonna be fine.
It's kind of ridiculous. All right,
he's ridiculous.
True or false? Penn State has figured it out, and they are a legitimate national title contender.
Listen, I know we got a good friend that's a big Penn State fan, and Penn State this has got to be their year because they have the pieces. But they still have James Franklin as a coach, and it's like Lane Kiffin. It's like these other coaches that have all this talent, and they just seem to find a way to lose a couple of key games. And I just don't know yet. I'm going to say that's false. They have not figured it out. James Franklin somehow is going to mess this up. He can't beat Ohio State or Michigan when it counts.
What did I say at the beginning of the year about Penn State? James Franklin is going to James Franklin.
They're going to James Franklin.
He's going to do something. This is the rest of their schedule. They have they go to USC this week, which USC has now lost 2 games. They need if they don't win that game, then obviously he's fraud. Then they go to Wisconsin. Wisconsin's not great. Then they're home against Ohio State, home against Washington. I think that's where they get tested. So this next 4 weeks is going to tell us a lot about Penn State. I'm not completely sold because their wins. They beat Bowling Green by 7. They beat Illinois by 14 and took a little bit. In UCLA, they beat by 16, and UCLA got thumped by Indiana.
Right.
So good for them to be 5-0. They've done it for like 5 straight years or something like that. But I'm not sold on them yet.
No, because they still can't beat the big boys. They can beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. But when it comes down to it, USC, they'll probably beat USC, but USC can, fool around and surprise them. Washington, never know. And then, of course, Ohio State's in there, too. Good luck.
All right, this week, exactly. This week looks a little bit tougher. A better schedule, but heck, we didn't think last week was going to be great, and it turned into absolute chaos. All right, you want to start with your game?
Yeah, we can start with you.
All right, Red River rivalry. Texas takes on Oklahoma. We've talked about this. It is at the Cotton Bowl, which is in Dallas. We've talked about this. We wish it was in Oklahoma every other year.
Go back and forth.
Yeah. Right, not every year, but every other year. Texas obviously is 5-0. Is Quinn Ewers going to be back? I would say they're probably leaning towards him being back. I don't think they played last week.
Can Oklahoma
ride
the defense again?
Right now Oklahoma is a 14-point underdog. I thought that Michigan was going to be the best defense Texas has seen in a while, and they did okay for a couple drives, but really for the most part they didn't. Oklahoma's defense has played really well, even in their loss to Tennessee. They played well,
right.
And they kept them in that Auburn game because the offense wasn't doing anything. That's the problem. Can their offense score in Texas? And I don't know if they can enough.
So Oklahoma's going to get their wide receivers back because they had a bye week. They were out against Auburn. They had a bye week, so they're going to get some wide receivers back. That's going to help. They have the running quarterback. Geez, I can't even think of his name. The guy that they put in for Jackson Arnold. He's kind of a game changer, but the defense, they can't rely on the defense again to keep them in it because it's going to end up like the Michigan game. It'll end up Texas is going to get up, and then Oklahoma just does not have the offense to come back.
Yeah.
The only way they came back against Auburn is they got a pick 6.
Right.
Let's be honest.
And Texas isn't as prone to turnovers as Auburn has.
Correct.
Auburn's turning the ball all the time.
Yeah.
I was impressed with Texas's defense when they played Michigan. Now, Michigan, again, at the same time, didn't have a throwing threat, really. I was impressed with Texas. Obviously, if Quinn Ewers is playing, even if Arch Manning's playing, that offense is pretty good.
Yes.
Can Oklahoma has to keep Texas under 20 points-ish.
Correct. If Texas gets to that 27, 30, Oklahoma's in trouble.
They can't.
It's going to be Oklahoma has to come out fast. They have to get the lead, and then they got to sit back and rely on that defense to keep them in the game long enough. The defense has to get turnovers, which they've done a great job of so far this year. But it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen.
We have seen some weird games between these two teams.
Alabama.
We've seen some weird games between these two teams lately.
Right.
The Texas beating Oklahoma by 42 because you guys started a tight end as your quarterback.
That's correct. Yep.
Texas going up big, Oklahoma coming back. We've had it. I can't see Oklahoma winning this game, but I can see Oklahoma keeping it close.
Okay. I as much as I hate to say it, I agree with you. I think this is a close game. I think Oklahoma comes out hot. I think they punch Texas in the face a little bit. Texas regains their composure, and just Oklahoma's offense has not been clicking. I don't think anything's going to change this week. Oklahoma comes out fast. It looks good. I get my hopes up. Texas slowly beats them down and wins.
I think
But I don't think they cover.
The more the season is going on, I think Oklahoma, your team, Michigan, my team are very, very similar.
100%.
Like the defense is pretty good, but the offense is just like, what
Offensive
are we doing?
line is rough.
And I think that honestly would be a good game in the bowl game or something. Watch us play each other. That'd be cool. We'd have to maybe figure out how to get to that one.
Yeah.
But I think it's very similar.
Very similar.
Oklahoma has a shot.
I mean, everybody kind of has a shot. You just saw what Vandy did.
Yeah, that's true. But Texas is not coming off of beating a big team, and this is a rivalry game. Texas is not overlooking Oklahoma.
No.
Alabama was 100% looking past 100%. Vanderbilt. So I think that's the difference. I agree with you. Anything can happen.
You think Texas covers, though?
Yes.
Okay, see, I don't. I think it's 10. I think Texas by 10. 30-20, something like that. 27-17.
Honestly, this is what I can see happen. I can see Texas covering and then Oklahoma scoring late to backdoor it.
Okay.
I don't But Texas is so good right now. Like I would say this about anybody they're
Right.
playing. I just
Right.
don't see Texas losing. I mean, obviously, if they play Georgia, Alabama, they can, but
Different.
do that. All right. Another ranked versus ranked team is we'll get to the big one in a minute. Ole Miss at LSU. So Ole Miss, I think, did Ole Miss things to lose to Kentucky.
Yeah, 100%.
They're playing LSU. LSU's ranked
LSU
13th.
quietly 4-1.
They're quietly 4-1, but
Nobody's
I
talking
don't
about
think LSU's very good.
So tell me why LSU is still ranked that high.
I mean, the
Is it
teams,
because it's LSU?
they have beat Nichols,
Rah.
South Carolina, UCLA,
Nah.
and South Alabama. I mean,
And then they got beat by who?
South Carolina did beat Kentucky. They lost to USC at first
USC.
week, who's lost to Michigan
Right.
and Minnesota now.
Right.
South Carolina, but they needed to score late to beat South Carolina. And UCLA is not good, and they beat Nichols and South Alabama.
Correct. I don't know how they're.
I don't think
they should be 23rd.
I don't think LSU is a great football team.
But do you trust
Ole Miss is a 2.5 point favorite. I think Ole Miss wins this game by double digits.
Yeah, Ole Miss can kind of just beat down South Carolina a little bit after that loss. I think Kentucky might be better than we think.
I mean, Kentucky,
especially defensively, they should have beat Georgia. They did beat Ole Miss, so I don't think Kentucky's an awful loss. But that South Carolina game that Ole Miss just kind of dominated them. I think you're right. I think Ole Miss comes out only favored by 2.5. I think they cover that fairly easy. It is in, Death Valley. It's a night game.
That gives LSU, but I don't, and I don't like Brian Kelly. So we've known this. We've talked about this many times. All right. Florida goes to Tennessee. Now, the only reason I'm bringing this up is Florida has won a couple games in a row. I think maybe even 3 in a row. They beat Sanford, okay, but then they beat Mississippi State, who's not good, and then they beat UCF, who's okay. And Tennessee's coming off a loss to Arkansas. I think actually the loss, this is the same thing. I think now Purdue's not on the level of them. When Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois and then Notre Dame just laid the wood to Purdue, I think this could happen with Tennessee over Florida. Tennessee's a 15.5 point favorite. I think they cover. I do. Good for Florida for winning the games and getting some of those wins because we don't know if they're going to win another game.
Right.
But
their schedule's rough.
Tennessee is the better team. And Tennessee against Arkansas was the first time they really faced some adversity, and they didn't respond well to it. So how do they deal with that? Because they need to figure that out real quick.
Yeah, because they played Oklahoma, but they were always up in that game. They didn't have challenges in that game of being down or being tied or anything like that. They were always up in that game, and they just kind of held on to the lead. But against Arkansas, it was a little bit different story. I think you're right. They come out and they take out their frustrations on Florida. Sorry, Florida. You're in trouble.
I mean, that's the thing with Tennessee, too, that you watch the game. You always watch. I didn't really watch it when they played Oklahoma. Should Tennessee blown out Oklahoma?
Should they? Probably.
Especially the way the game started.
Probably.
And they didn't.
Right.
So, is that a problem?
Right. Can they blow people out? I just don't think Florida has enough offense to get anything going. Tennessee's going to score some points. Florida's in trouble. They're going to cover. It's going to be 17, 20-point win.
All right. Kansas State goes to Colorado. Kansas State's 4-1. Colorado's a little bit of a surprising 4-1. They did whip UCF last time out, but the game before that, I think it was before that, they had to get a Hail Mary to beat Baylor.
Oh, that's right. Colorado's loss to Nebraska still bothers me too a little bit. Like they didn't look good at all against Nebraska.
I mean, they scored 10 points against Nebraska.
Right. That's really surprising. Nebraska's defense is solid.
Okay, but not that good.
This game is not going to be super exciting, I don't think. But it's 2 4-1 Big 12 teams, right? Both in the hunt to still win the Big 12. Deion just slowly out there winning a couple games here and there, but I think he runs into a problem here.
Kansas State got housed by BYU. But then they flipped around the next week and whipped Oklahoma State.
We talked about this Big 12. It's crazy out there. BYU is the front runner.
And Iowa State probably, right?
Yes, I'm just not sold on Iowa State yet.
But they keep winning.
They just
they
beat Iowa.
Boat raced Baylor last week.
Right. Who? Colorado? Struggled with.
Yeah.
I'm still going Kansas State. I think Kansas State just does enough to get it done, even though it's in Boulder. KSU is favored by 4.5. I think they cover that. I think they win by a touchdown.
I like Kansas State. I think they're going to be a defense and can shut down Colorado a little bit. But we'll see. I mean, they did give up 38 points to BYU, so
BYU might be better than we think.
we'll see.
We know.
I like K-State in that game,
Yeah.
and Colorado annoys me.
Yeah, okay. Colorado.
The other one is Penn State goes out to USC. Penn State's a 5.5 point favorite. USC's coming off, that loss to Minnesota,
That's
and they had lost to Michigan 2 weeks prior to that.
The Michigan loss doesn't surprise me.
No, and it was at Michigan, but the Minnesota one surprises me. I'm shocked. They only scored 14 points, I think, against Minnesota. And Minnesota's defense was okay, but not great. Penn State just has had trouble putting away his teams. USC has a talent to win this game. Miller Moss is not a bad quarterback.
Sure.
He's got some weapons. But I don't think this is the game that Penn State loses.
Penn State's going to do enough to win this game. They're not going to blow out USC.
No.
It's probably a lower scoring game because Penn State seems to just drag things out. They don't come out with fire and go up by 10 points right away. It's like, well, we're going to fool around and be up 7-3 for a quarter. And then maybe 10-7. Yeah. I mean, it's just weird stuff that goes on. And then they just kind of finish you off at the end. So Penn State's going to win this game. It's going to be slow going. USC 3-3 probably.
I think Penn State wins this game, but USC is winning at halftime.
Okay. I mean, absolutely. I think Bowling Green was winning. I think Illinois was winning there for a while. Like, Penn State does not come out on fire.
They don't. They have been slow starters notoriously, and with it being at USC, maybe USC takes advantage. I think Penn State's defense is pretty good too, so they're gonna give. And Michigan was able to pressure USC's Miller Moss. I mean, they put him on the ground early and often in the first half. Penn State could do that again, and if they can do that, then they'll be fine. But Miller Moss. I mean, Moss can have. You
give him time back.
Give him time. He's a good quarterback. So. We'll see what they do. But USC leads at halftime. Penn State wins the game. All right. The biggest game of the week is, we talked about it just briefly a little bit ago, is Ohio State going to Oregon. Ohio State is finally playing somebody with a pulse. I know Iowa, but that they're only half a pulse because their offense has been bad, and they beat Michigan State pretty easily. But again, Michigan State's been struggling. Oregon, they beat Michigan State about the same way as Ohio State did. They beat them 31-10. Dylan Gabriel's obviously been really, really good. It is in Autzen, and it's a night game. It is going to be loud, and Ohio State is going to have to deal with it. Can Will Howard deal with that situation? Now, he's played in some loud places in the Big 12, but it's not Oregon.
Not the same. No, Will Howard at Kansas State did not play. I mean, he played at Texas, probably in Oklahoma, but it's not Autzen Stadium, which I think – record-wise, like, they're one of the loudest stadiums in college football, year in, year out.
Because what else do you have to do in the Northwest?
Correct.
Go to a football game and scream.
That's it. I think Ohio State's going to be in for a little bit of a wake-up call right here because they have not played people. On the other hand, Ohio State has not had to show anybody any plays, really.
Right.
Like, somebody brought up the fact that Bama had to show a lot of their offense and defense when they played Georgia, and Vandy could prep for that. And I was like, maybe.
Doesn't matter.
Maybe.
At the time, you're like, doesn't matter.
At the time, I was like, okay, whatever. But maybe now you look back. So Ohio State has not had to show anything. So they could literally have a bunch of stuff sitting back that Oregon hasn't seen on tape yet. Could be a factor. This is such a tough one because Ohio State's loaded with players. Oregon beat them in Columbus. Who was the quarterback for Ohio State then? Not Will Howard. Somebody better than Will Howard.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was.
Stroud.
Probably Stroud, yeah.
College-wise, way better than Will Howard. I don't trust Will Howard. I haven't trusted him. He was at Kansas State. Now he goes there. He throws for like 120 yards a game, and they just seem to win. Oregon's going to win this game.
Neither one of these teams has really played anybody yet. Oregon probably maybe played the best team in Boise State, and they beat them, and it was close. Oregon's had some close calls. Ohio State, but see, Ohio State does this. They blow out teams that they just are supposed to blow out. And then when they play good teams, then it's different. They predicate themselves so much on big-time plays. Yes. Can Oregon's defense make them drive? We've talked about this. I've told you this many times. This is why Michigan's beat Ohio State 3 straight times. Well, last year was a little bit different because the quarterback wasn't as good. But the 2 years with C.J. Stroud, they made them drive consistently down the field. Okay, you got a first down, you got field goal range, cool. What are you going to do then? Can you score? And Ohio State couldn't do it enough. No. They did score some, but they couldn't do it enough, and then they couldn't stop the run. Now, obviously, Oregon doesn't run the ball as much. Dylan Gabriel throws it, so that hasn't been their problem. But Autzen is a different animal. Yeah. It is a different animal. It's loud there. They have talked about it being one of the loudest ones. I know there's some SEC obvious ones that are allowed to,
But I
like,
think there's
you know,
actual records that show.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to like Tennessee, Alabama, LSU; those places are all really loud.
Mhm.
Mississippi State, they're doing their damn cowbells,
LSU,
and Texas A&M can be
yeah.
loud too. But Oregon, if you're talking about something outside the SEC, I mean, it's louder than Michigan, even though Michigan has more people because of the way
It's
the
just
field
the
is.
way it is.
It's different, and it's a night game. And Oregon, if they had their hand in scheduling this game at night, good job,
Correct.
because
Good move.
I think I like Oregon in this game but we're gonna see a lot about these teams, and this could very easily be the first of 2 or 3 matchups between these two teams.
Oregon's already faced probably the best running back in the country. Judkins and Travion Henderson for Ohio State are both good backs, but they're not the Boise State back.
I don't think so.
And I think Oregon can slow them down, make Will Howard beat you with his arm, because I don't think he can do it.
That's the other thing. Make him beat you. Now, they do have some really good wide receivers, but somebody's got to get him the ball there.
Correct.
And I've seen some throws from Will Howard, and it's not CJ Stroud.
He doesn't light up the scoreboard with statistics.
No.
Like CJ Stroud did. I mean, if you look at Will Howard, he's got 1,200 yards. 1,200 yards in what? 5 games?
Yeah.
Okay, 200 yards a game-ish. He's not throwing for 400 yards.
Right.
Like CJ Stroud was. Like, they run the ball and they play good defense.
Yeah.
That's going to be the key, and that's what Ohio State's going to do. And turnovers could be a factor on this. Get some pressure on Will Howard. He'll make turnovers. That's what he'll do. I just don't have confidence in Will Howard to get it done. I know you hate Ohio State. I don't really hate either one of these teams. I'm indifferent to. But Oregon's going to win this game.
Bite your tongue.
They're going to pull it off.
You hate Ohio State. We're friends. You hate Ohio State.
Okay, ipso facto. You hate Ohio State, so do I. Fair enough.
I hate Texas.
Yeah, perfect.
There we go. All right. It's going to tell us a lot. It's going to be very interesting. That's a night game Saturday night. So we're going to find out real quick how good Ohio State and Oregon are. Finally. All right, let's switch over to the NFL. Did anything really surprise you on Sunday?
On Sunday, nothing crazy. The Dolphins beat the Patriots, but that was an awful game.
It was.
The Commanders are looking, can I say good, even though they played the Browns?
They look good.
They looked okay. Your Bears look good against the Panthers.
They played the Panthers.
I'm not going to say anybody was surprising. You called the Cowboys win over the Steelers. I thought the Steelers were going to win that. Cowboys came back and got a touchdown late to go ahead, I think. But I don't think there was a whole lot surprising on Sunday. Maybe on Thursday, there was kind of a crazy game. But...
Yeah, Kirk Cousins throwing for 500 yards.
Right.
All right, let's do a little true or false NFL. True or false? The 49ers are in trouble.
Maybe. I'm going to say true right now. They might be. When they are a healthy team and they have things together, they look good. But you lose to the Cardinals, who I guess are okay. Like, they've been able to put up some points, but I didn't check and see who was healthy that game or not. If they were a fully healthy Niners team, they're in trouble right now.
Here's the thing: they didn't score in the second half. They led 23-10 at halftime. They didn't score in the second half.
Yeah.
That's the second straight game they've given up a lead in the second half. They lost to the Rams late in the second half.
Is Brock Purdy?
I think you're right. When they're healthy, they are really good, but they don't have Christian McCaffrey right now. We don't know when he's going to come back for sure. And Debo's out too.
Brock Purdy.
It's a problem. Without those guys. Jordan Mason we thought was going to be really good, and then maybe we find out why he was a backup.
Correct. Brock Purdy is a guy that manages the game, but he has to have other guys to help win the game. McCaffrey and Debo out; those are huge.
Well, I guess Debo did play the last game, but 1 reception for 11 yards.
Right, get him the ball.
Brandon Ayuk's been good. 8 receptions for 147, but then Juwan Jennings, who went off the other day, 1 for 13. But Brock Purdy was 19 for 35 with 2 interceptions. So, right. Is Brock Purdy coming back down to earth?
He's had a couple really good years.
I never claimed that Brock, everybody wanted to jump on, I was talking about, I want the quarterbacks to prove it, but nobody really jumped on the Brock Purdy and said he was a great quarterback. So I never really thought about, hey, he's got to prove it. He just needed to not lose games.
Correct.
But now when he doesn't have some guys here and there, he's got to win some games.
Is McCaffrey that big of a factor?
Yeah.
I think he is. I think he's huge.
That dude is a stud.
Running the ball, catching the ball, the backfield.
Yeah.
Difference maker.
But now all of a sudden, the Cardinals got their second win. But Kyler Murray, 19 for 30 for 195 yards. I mean,
did he run the ball a little bit though? Like he usually will kill some people.
He did have a 50-yard touchdown run, but he had 83 yards and 7 carries.
So
But I mean, overall, I mean, the Cardinals got.
They get 2 picks.
I mean, they had 350. They had 358 yards, but the 49ers only had 384. So I mean, the 49ers are 2-3, but they can't afford to lose much more than that. Let's see who they got coming up here.
No, because the Falcons with Kirk Cousins all of a sudden look like the second coming of the.
Well, the Falcons aren't in the 49ers.
Right.
So the 49ers go to Seattle, and then they have home against Kansas City, home against Dallas, and then at Tampa, and then home against Seattle, at Green Bay. That's not like.
That's not gimmies.
It's not gimmies. Now, Seattle, who knows? Kansas City is always pretty good. Dallas has the ability to be very good. Tampa at Tampa, I mean, Baker's playing really well. Good. If they don't play Kirk Cousins, apparently.
Right.
And then Seattle getting Green Bay. And Green Bay, Jordan Love, can they please stop with the freaking quarterbacks in Green Bay?
You're tired of it.
Tired of them having a quarterback. I mean, Jordan Love looks good.
Right. Aaron Rodgers was pretty good for him. Brett Favre was pretty good for him. Like, they've had a string of good quarterbacks.
All right, true or false? Are the Colts ever going to win in Jacksonville again?
False. I'm going to go false. They can't do it.
I mean,
they just can't seem to pull it off. The Jaguars aren't even that good this year. But last second field goal, maybe.
This is what was crazy. The Jaguars led 20-10 at the end of the third quarter. And then they led 34-20 with 5:09 left, and the Colts scored 2 times in a row. The Colts scored 24 points. Joe Flacco went 33 for 44 for 359 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Joe Flacco's back.
He was back last year.
Last week.
But they just can't find a way to beat. I mean, even a couple years ago when the Jaguars were god awful, the Colts just had to go to Jacksonville, win the game to go to the playoffs.
Right.
Couldn't do it. They cannot win in Jacksonville. I don't know. Nobody looks and says, you know what? The toughest places to play in the NFL, top of my list is Jacksonville.
If you're Indianapolis, it is. Where do we not want to play?
They beat the Steelers at home and then go to Jacksonville and lose to the winless. Not in the winless anymore, but
that's crazy. I know you're kind of a Colts guy a little bit.
A little bit. True or false? You're tired of Gardner Minshew?
Oh, they finally pulled him. They finally pulled him out after 2 interceptions, bad ones, and put Aiden O'Connell in there. I never was sold on Gardner Minshew. Like, okay, we beat the Ravens, yay. Then we get beat up by the Broncos. I'll lose to the Ravens all day long if I can beat the Broncos because I hate the Broncos.
And he got whipped by the Broncos. Gardner Minshew, I saw the one play that he had that you guys driving down for the touchdown. I think you guys were up 10-3 when this happened, and he threw it to Patrick Surtain. Not even close to a Raiders guy. He just threw it to Patrick Surtain.
I think he got pulled out right after that.
And Patrick Surtain didn't even get touched and ran in 100 yards for a touchdown.
I mean, Aiden O'Connell still threw an interception.
And now Devontae Adams wants out of Vegas.
No doubt. He's going to New York Jets. He's going to go play for the Jets with Aaron Rodgers.
I think that's a mistake.
We're going to get some defense, maybe. Actually, our defense isn't that bad. Our offense is awful. So we need some offensive linemen. We need a running back. Raiders need help. They remind me of the Sooners. They got some decent players on defense, but they can't do anything on offense.
All right, true or false? The Ravens are the most Jekyll and Hyde team in the league.
Oh my goodness! Lose to the Raiders, which doesn't look like a great loss.
Yeah.
But then they show up and just start beating people.
Well, they look like a Super Bowl contender or favored against the Bills, and then for 3/4 of the game against the Bengals, they didn't. And then Lamar Jackson does some Houdini crap. And they win the game.
Pull it out. That was a wild.
Doesn't hurt that you have a kicker that can kick it from anywhere on the field, pretty much.
True, that does help too. But the Bengals finally look like the Bengals a little bit.
They did.
They finally look like the Bengals that
Burrow to Chase a couple times.
Was going to be the Bengals.
That Bengals team can make it out of the AFC.
They can. They have to.
But they still lost the game
because it's the Ravens. 41-30. It's a wild game.
It was true or false. The Bills need to be worried a little bit.
Maybe. I'm going to say false for right now. Texans aren't that bad. I know the Texans haven't been as good as they were last year, really, but Texans aren't awful. And that was a close game. The Bills are still.
But the Bills were down 17-3 in that game. They had to come all the way back. But they did. But then some stupid play calling at the end of the game gave the Texans a chance to get the ball in field goal range. So I don't understand what's going on there.
Fortunately for the Bills, their division's not that tough.
No,
Jets, Patriots, and Dolphins are not.
well, with the Dolphins out too, they're bad. The Patriots are bad, and then
The Jets
only
are,
know what we're getting with the Jets. I mean, they look good for a couple drives, but then
I'm still
Aaron
gonna go-
Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's 40 something.
Correct. He's showing his age. I'm going to go false on that still. I think the Bills are still okay just because of the division, and we know what they can do.
All right, Week 6 coming up. Let's see what we got going on. The Jaguars play the Bears in London. The Bears look.
What's up with
Caleb
these London
Williams looked
games?
pretty good, and all of a sudden DeAndre Swift has come alive the last 2 games. The
They're
Bears right now. This
3-2.
is early. We're early in the week, so they're 2.5-point favorite. I think the Bears win this game. They've looked. Their offenses look competent. DJ Moore has started to get that rapport with Caleb Williams, and if DeAndre Swift can continue to be good like he has the last couple of games, his offense all of a sudden looks good. Granted, it was against the Panthers last week,
but
and the
you
Rams
need-
have struggled a little bit. But you
Yeah,
need
but
that.
you need
They
those
weren't doing that.
games.
Now they're 3
Right.
and 2. The Bears have the Jaguars.
Listen, the Panthers is like a confidence booster for Caleb Williams and those guys. Jaguars, that could be another game where they can work on stuff and they can get better when they go. Who do they have next?
The Bears have to win this game because then they have a bye week, and then they go to Washington.
Okay.
That's going to be
That'll be a
interesting.
tough one.
And then they go to Arizona. So they have those 2 games. But then they have home games against the Patriots, Packers, and Vikings.
I'm telling you, these are 2 games that the Bears can really start clicking a little bit. They're going to beat the Jaguars. It's at home. It's in Jacksonville. Who knows? But they're going to beat the Jaguars. They just came off beating a bad Panthers.
Then they
team.
got a bye week, and then they
have
go
a
to
bye week.
Washington.
They're going to be okay. They need these 2 games and the bye week. Washington team that might be better than we think.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting game. When they play at Washington, I think that'll be very
Yes.
interesting to see.
Jaden Daniels
Because
is
we
looking
talked
pretty
about
good.
this a little bit. It's Jaden Daniels. Did the
Raiders
Bears
are
make a mistake
4-1.
to get Caleb Williams? But
I don't think so.
I don't think
You don't
so.
know. You don't know.
But we don't know yet. Like Caleb Williams is like last year we talked about it with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud because Bryce Young was so bad.
Right.
Like Caleb Williams, he struggled a little bit earlier, but now he's starting to get his feet under it a little bit, and that's just what you need. Like as a rookie quarterback, when you just get beat up, and that's what he was getting
Yeah.
beat up. Now he's not getting beat up as much, and he's finding his groove a little bit. I think it makes a difference.
It's be all right. They're going to win that game.
All right, 49ers go to the Seahawks.
Listen, the 49ers better get their stuff together, but I think without Christian McCaffrey, I don't think Brock Purdy can win a game for him.
The Seahawks are weird too. Like the 3-2, but they just lost to the Giants. Now they were lining up for a field goal to tie it, and they got blocked in return. They lost by 9. I don't know what to make of this game. I think the 49ers do win this game. They're 3-point favorites, but don't be surprised if the Seahawks win.
Yeah, I just have lost confidence in the Niners. They need this win bad, and maybe that'll be enough to push them over. But I think the Seahawks will win this game. I'm gonna go with Seahawks.
All right, a couple of games that do we care? Just tell me who's going to win. Colts at Titans.
We don't care, but the Colts are gonna win. This.
Okay.
Joe Flacco.
Texans at Patriots.
Patriots are bad. Texans, they're gonna win.
All right. Chargers at Broncos.
I hate the
Broncos are 3-2.
I hate the Broncos more than Chargers. Go Chargers.
That's interesting. Steelers go to your Raiders. We can talk about that a little.
No, that's a tough game for my Raiders. They have quarterback issues. Steelers aren't bad. I know they just got beat by the Cowboys, but low scoring game. It's in Vegas. Raiders are gonna win this one.
The Raiders can win
Please.
this game, and
Please.
they need to win this game. But the Steelers' defense is pretty good, and that's what concerns me. I think the Raiders can slow down the Steelers' offense.
It's
But-
gonna be a low scoring game.
It's going to be a low-scoring game. I think the Steelers win that game.
No,
Yeah. Falcons at Panthers. Do the Panthers have a shot?
no, Kirk Cousins. I'm gonna start him in fantasy again. He's gonna give me another 50 points.
All right, and then Bengals go to the Giants. Interesting game. Bengals are 1-4. Giants are 2-3.
This one, the Bengals play like they did against the Ravens. Bengals are gonna just rout them. The Bengals have not been consistent, but the Giants are bad. Bengals win.
I think Bengals win this game. I think this is the game they really break out, and I think they blow
I
them
think
out.
they
I think they win
kinda-
by double digits.
They got their stuff together against the
Yeah,
Ravens.
Browns. Oh, that's a mess. They go to the Eagles. Deshaun Watson.
Did you
They
see that he
need to
just
give up. He just walked off the
Walked
field on the
field,
fourth
and
down when they
coach
want
is
to go
like,
for it.
What are we doing?
Deshaun Watson is a problem.
Next man up. Get somebody else out there.
Like put Jameis out there.
I don't
Forget the
Right,
fact that
why
you-
not? James
I
is
mean,
not awful.
Listen, you're paying him money, right? So they're like, well, we got to play him. Well,
No.
he sucks.
Yeah.
He sucks right
It's
now.
bad.
So just pay him not to play. Would you rather pay him, have a shot to win, or pay him and not?
Correct. Give Jameis a shot. He's not an awful quarterback. He has decent experience.
Right. He's going to throw a couple interceptions, but
He might throw 4
he
touchdowns too.
could throw 4 touchdowns too. And the Eagles are right for the picking right now because we talked about
Correct.
this. They've struggled. I think they were off last week. I don't.
Browns need to win.
I think the Eagles win this game,
Yes,
especially if Deshaun plays. But the Browns could keep up.
If Deshaun Watson plays, I don't think the Browns win many more games.
All right, here's a good game. Now we'll get into the better games. Well, let's talk about one that's okay. Bucks at Saints.
Listen, I like the Bucks a lot this year. The Saints are kind of up and down. We really thought that there was something coming out early, but I think the Bucks, tough loss against the Falcons. I think they come back and redeem themselves.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the 3-2, they had that tough loss, like I said, against the Falcons. But I think they win. The Saints are playing on Monday night, and they struggled last week against the Falcons. They lost on a last-second field goal. I think the Bucks win this game.
Yeah, Bucks are going to take their business.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. Bills at Jets. That's the Monday night game of next week.
October 14th, Monday night game. The Jets, this is a game the Bills need right now.
They have to win this game.
This is a game they really need, and they're going to come out. I know it's not a home game, the Jets hosting, but Bills are going to beat up on the Jets. They're going to take care of business. It's a Monday night game. It's a fun Monday night game. Rodgers and Josh Allen.
Yeah, the defense for the Jets looked good at times against the Vikings. They slowed the Vikings down, but early they had trouble stopping them, and then when the Vikings needed to score, they did. And like you said, Aaron Rodgers is just looking old, and you can get to him.
His age.
Yeah. I think the Bills win that game.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. There's one game I want to talk about last, so I'm trying to figure out what the other one is.
Lions game?
That one, but there's another one in there. Cardinals go to the Packers.
Listen, the
Kyler Murray's 2-3, but they have some weapons. The Packers have just played close games, but they keep winning a little bit here. They do have 2 losses, but they keep winning.
It's in Green Bay. It's Jordan Love, like you said. It looks like a pretty competent quarterback again for the Packers. Cardinals come off a nice win over the Niners. Kyler Murray's running the ball, but it's not enough. Packers can win this game.
I think Packers win this game. I don't want them to. I want the Cardinals to win because obviously the Packers are in the Bears division. But I do think the Packers win. If this was in I was going to say St. Louis. That's a while ago.
Been a minute.
If they were in Arizona, I think the Cardinals have a better shot.
Better chance.
But I think the Packers win this game.
Yeah.
All right, the Commanders and Ravens.
Ooh.
The beginning of the year, this is looking like a game where it's like the Ravens are just going to blow them out. But now the Commanders, they're 4-1. They look like maybe the best team in the NFC East. Maybe the Cowboys, but the Commanders are playing just as well. And then the Ravens, who, again, if you can force Lamar to beat. But see, Lamar, made some good throws, but those are mostly out of scramble drills.
Right.
And when guys know to get in its defender. Surprisingly, I've never played defensive back in the NFL. So I don't know how hard it is to continue to guard a receiver, but I'm guessing when the quarterback scrambles and that guy now turns into a playground play, it is tough to keep up with it. And that's what Lamar can do.
Yeah, because you probably train to run to guard these guys for certain routes, slants,
and certain amount of time,
curls, and all this stuff. Right, certain amount of time, certain amount of distance. Now all of a sudden you're 5 seconds into this play, and these guys can go anywhere. Good luck.
You remember trying to chase your buddy around in the backyard when you're playing football, and you're like, "Can you just stop running, please?"
Impossible. Yeah,
that's kind of what it is when he gets going. So if the Commanders can keep him from doing that, they have a good shot to win this game. But it's in Baltimore, and it's the first time Jaden Daniels is really going to experience, because the Baltimore crowd is going to be loud.
It's hostile.
I think the Ravens win this game, but the Commanders keep it close.
Commanders are 4-1.
They are 4-1.
They look good. They're scoring points, but this is probably the best team they've faced so far, best quarterback. And I think it's a little bit of a shootout, but the Ravens are going to win this one.
The Commanders' wins are against the Giants. Bengals was a surprise, the Cardinals and the Browns. So the Bengals is a bit of a surprise,
the Bengals were not good though.
But the other 2 games, nobody's really and they lost to the Buccaneers, the first game.
Right.
So they haven't beaten anybody, and you know what? They don't. The next game's against the Panthers, then they play the Bears. We talked about could be fun. Then they go to the Giants, so they already beat Pittsburgh, Eagles, Cowboys, Titans. That's before their bye. They got a late bye. Their bye's in week 14.
That NFC East could be rough one.
Yeah. All right. The other game, too, is the Lions at Cowboys. That is it's not. It's a Sunday afternoon game.
I feel like that's a Thanksgiving Day game.
Well, it's the 2 teams that play in yeah.
Right.
The Lions are 3-1. The Cowboys are 3-2, but they are barely 3-2. The Lions looked really good last time. They were off this week. They looked really good the last time we saw them against the Seahawks. Jared Goff went 18 for 18. But I'm going to keep going back, and we've talked about this a lot. They're 2-headed monsters that they have at running back, where David Montgomery, again, is probably one of the top 10 running backs in the league, and he is the backup.
Right.
But is he really the backup?
No, it does split. He's not the backup. Lions have just offense weapons left and right. Amon-Ra St. Brown out there. The two running backs you talked about. Jared Goff's playing well.
Laporta.
Yeah, they have guys all over the place. The Cowboys, their offense has not been dominant.
As somebody said this to me, it might have been, or not to me. I heard this on the ESPN radio. All right, answer this question: who's the Cowboys' number one threat on offense?
Dak Prescott.
No. Besides Dak,
who?
CeeDee Lamb, right?
Maybe.
Okay,
yeah.
then who?
Zeke.
That's the problem. Well, Dowdle played better last night, but that's the problem. That's the problem, and I think that's why, they're keying in on CD and who else? Jake Ferguson is their tight end.
Lockdown CD.
Tolbert caught a touchdown pass, but
Tolbert.
Yeah, is that you, Tolbert? That's the problem, and I think if the Lions can shore up their defense, the back end, their front end is good. Aiden Hutchinson's been great in their line. The back end is what's their problem, and it was their problem last year. But if Goff starts to play better again, they're the best team in the NFC.
Probably because the Niners sure aren't
right now.
No.
I mean, who would be? I mean, the playing wise, you could maybe say, well, the Commanders are playing really well too. With the Vikings, the Vikings.
Vikings are playing
right,
but
they haven't played each other yet.
But you trust the Vikings right now?
Do you trust Sam Darnold?
I mean,
he's proven us more wrong and wrong.
I was going to say he keeps proving us that we're wrong, but I still don't trust him. I don't trust him.
If he gets into a big game, a la against the Vikings or the Pack, well, he performed pretty well against the Packers, or that was in Green Bay. I'm going to keep proving myself wrong. So going to Detroit when he goes to Detroit, because when the Vikings go to Detroit, Detroit is going to be rocking. Can Darnold handle that?
That's going to be the test. That's going to be the key. I mean, he has Justin Jefferson. That helps a lot.
A little bit.
Just throw it up to that guy.
A little bit.
Ridiculous. But no, the Cowboys cannot score enough points in this game. They just don't score enough.
I mean,
against good teams.
I'll give them. The Vikings don't go to Detroit until the last week, but the Lions.
Which who knows?
But the Lions go to Minnesota next week.
Okay, so next week
we'll figure it out real quick.
Sam Darnold's going to prove us right.
Who is the NFC North favorite? Is it the Lions or the Vikings? We'll find out in 2 weeks. Well, a week from Sunday.
Well, and don't leave your Bears out of there. If they start clicking, they can beat anybody right now.
Right.
I think the Bears can beat anybody right now. If they start clicking.
I mean, their defense.
Right.
If the offense can keep the defense off the field enough, the Bears' defense have one of the best defenses in the NFC. They do. Their defense is pretty good.
And get some points. Field goals will be good enough with that defense.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we have some stuff coming up. I'm really excited about the couple of games in college football.
Yes.
Oregon and Ohio State, the Red River rivalry coming up. Personally, though, down in Florida here, let's pray that the hurricane can kind of break down a little bit. We're right in the path of it, so that's what we're worried about a little bit. But maybe football can give us a little bit of reprieve from that at the end of the week.
Yeah, hopefully that hurricane's going to come through. I don't think there's any doubt it's going to hit Florida, and we're going to feel it. Hopefully it gets by quick. Gets in, gets out of here. Everyone stays safe, and we can get back to our normal lives sometimes.
So if you're listening to us around here, give a little prayer for Florida. We'll take our best to stay safe. But keep watching football. We'll keep talking about it. We'll come back next week and recap everything and make some picks. Until next time, I'm Adam.
I'm Tony. Thanks for listening.